Imagine a city that has stood for 1,000 years, a city so sacred that its people believe God himself dwells within its walls. A city that has been conquered before, by Babylonians, by Greeks, by Romans, and yet has always endured, always survived, always risen again. Now imagine that city in the summer of the year 70 AD, completely surrounded, 500,000 people packed inside crumbling walls, famine so severe that mothers are reported to have eaten their own children. And outside those walls, 4 Roman legions, the most disciplined and ruthless military force the ancient world had ever produced, commanded by a general who will one day become emperor. This is not a story of glory, it is a story of total annihilation. The siege and sack of Jerusalem by Rome is one of the most catastrophic events in human history, a moment that would reshape Judaism, accelerate Christianity, and echo across 2,000 years of civilization. And it all unfolded in the space of a single brutal summer. To understand why Rome laid siege to Jerusalem, we have to go back 4 years, to 66 AD, when the Jewish population of Judea launched a full-scale revolt against Roman rule. The causes had been building for decades: heavy taxation, repeated insults to Jewish religious customs, and a string of corrupt and incompetent Roman governors had pushed the population to breaking point. The final spark came when the Roman procurator Gessius Florus seized silver from the temple treasury. The people of Jerusalem erupted. Roman soldiers were ambushed and killed. A Roman garrison was overwhelmed. For a brief, extraordinary moment, Judea was free. Rome, of course, could not let this stand. Emperor Nero dispatched one of his most capable generals, Vespasian, to crush the rebellion. By 68 AD, Vespasian had methodically retaken most of the countryside surrounding Jerusalem and cutting off its supply lines. But then Nero died, and Rome was plunged into a year of civil war, the so-called Year of the Four Emperors. Vespasian paused his campaign. He was waiting, and by 69 AD, Vespasian himself had been declared emperor. He handed command of the Judean campaign to his son, a young, ambitious general named Titus. The Romans were methodical. Jerusalem had 3 great defensive walls on its exposed northern side, and Titus set about dismantling them one by one. Roman siege engineers constructed massive battering rams, siege towers, and artillery platforms. The outer wall fell within 15 days. The second wall fell shortly after, though Jewish fighters briefly retook it before being pushed back again. The third and innermost wall, however, and the Antonia fortress, which guarded the Temple Mount, proved far more formidable. The defenders fought with extraordinary ferocity. Every advance cost the Romans dearly. At one point, Titus attempted to scale the walls with ladders and was nearly cut off from his own troops. The Romans began to understand that taking Jerusalem by direct assault would be almost impossible. So instead, they squeezed. The circumvallation wall made it impossible for anyone to slip out and forage for food. Josephus records that tens of thousands were dying of starvation inside the city. Those who tried to escape were crucified in full view of Jerusalem's walls, sometimes 500 a day, according to his account, until, as Josephus grimly notes, the Romans ran out of wood for crosses and space to erect them. The Antonia fortress fell in July, and now the Romans stood at the gates of the most sacred site in the Jewish world, the Temple of Jerusalem. Solomon's original temple had been destroyed by the Babylonians 6 centuries earlier. This was Herod's rebuilt temple, an immense gleaming complex of white stone and gold that ancient writers described as one of the most magnificent structures in the world. What happened next has been debated by historians ever since. According to Josephus, Titus actually gave orders that the temple should not be destroyed, that it was too magnificent and too historically significant to be burned. But whether through disobedience, accident, or deliberate Roman fury, the temple caught fire during the fighting in early August. The date, according to Jewish reckoning, was the 9th day of the month of Av, the exact same date, tradition holds, on which the Babylonians had destroyed the first temple. Coincidence or not, it felt to the Jewish people like the hand of fate. The temple burned for days, Soldiers tore through it, looking for the legendary gold and silver stored within. The giant menorah, the seven-branched candelabra, was carried out of the flames and would end up paraded through Rome in a triumphal procession, an image still visible today on the Arch of Titus in the Roman Forum. The rest of Jerusalem fell within weeks. The lower city was torched, then the upper city. By September, it was over. Josephus records that 1.1 million people died during the siege, a figure modern historians largely consider an exaggeration, but indicative of the scale of the catastrophe. Nearly 100,000 survivors were taken as slaves. Titus ordered Jerusalem to be demolished so thoroughly that future visitors would not believe it had ever been inhabited. The fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD did not end Jewish resistance to Rome. That would come with further revolts, culminating in the Bar Kokhba revolt of 132 to 135 AD, after which the Romans renamed the province Syria Palestina and banned Jews from entering Jerusalem entirely. But the destruction of the temple changed Judaism permanently. The priestly class, the Sadducees, lost their power and their purpose. The temple sacrifices, the heart of Jewish religious practice, could no longer be performed. Judaism was forced to reinvent itself, becoming the text-centered, synagogue-based, rabbinically led religion that it largely remains today. In a very real sense, modern Judaism was born from the ashes of the temple. And for the early Christian community, the event was equally seismic. Many saw the destruction as confirmation of Jesus' own prophecy, recorded in the Gospels, that not one stone of the temple would be left standing on another. It accelerated Christianity's break from its Jewish roots, and it spread outward into the wider Roman world. The siege of Jerusalem lasted less than 5 months, but its consequences have lasted 2,000 years.